Welcome to Monday Mornings with Michelle, the new business podcast. Whether you're kicking off your day or kickstarting your business, Michelle is going to kick your ass into next week with the essential fours: strategy, systems, support, and state of mind. Now, welcome to center stage, Michelle Nedelec.
Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I'm super glad that you're here with us today. I am here with the most amazing guest, Richard Bornstein. You're going to love him. Thank you, Rich, for being here with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I fell in love with you the second I met you. You are awesome, super fun. So let's give our peeps the 5,000-foot view of who you are and what you do. Start.
Now that's a very open-ended question because, the easiest way to answer that is I'm a pain. That's the best way to say it.
Is that just what your wife says, or is that
my ex-wife for sure, and any of my ex-girlfriends? But what I do is I'm a marketing strategist and an Emmy-nominated content creator. So what I do is I fold my experience as a journalist, as a studio executive, as an entrepreneurial business leader. I fold it all into what I do. And these days I'm really concentrating on creating some really kick-ass content for people, giving them that emotional connection with their audience, whether it's for outreach, whether it's to start their business, whether they're competing against the giants, whether they need a fresh set of eyes. Everybody has a story. Everybody is in business for a reason. I'm here to tell those stories through video and get their best foot forward.
Awesome. And you do have some epic videos, and we'll get into that later. But how did you get into all of this?
You know what? That is really kind of weird, at least for me. I was on my path. I was a journalist, and I was going to be the greatest sports writer to ever live. And then I realized, well, maybe I'm not going to be the greatest sports writer to ever live. And I was doing some stories. I did a story on an actor by the name of Bill Bixby, who you may remember from My Favorite Martian, from Goodnight Beantown. I mean, he was in a lot of different things. I mean, you know the name. You'd see him. Courtship of Eddie's Father, of course. And I did a story on Bill Bixby, and there was some guy sitting in him, that I arranged the interview with. And I said, hey, what do you do besides, arrange interviews for me? And I said, can I come out and pick your brain? And he said, sure, Justin, don't just come out and talk to me, talk to my boss. So that led me to, they offered me a job at Warner Brothers. And then I was on that studio track, and I was going to run a studio one day. And that was it. When I got hired at, from Warner Brothers, I went to Goldwyn, I went to Paramount Pictures, I went back to Goldwyn, I became head of marketing. I, created a bunch of Emmy and Oscar-nominated campaigns, launched a lot of careers, and I went, okay, this is it. And then about, at some point, Goldwyn ceased to be the company, and I was kind of on my own, and I went, okay, I'm just waiting for the next gig. And I got a call from Robert Redford's organization at Sundance, and they said, would I like to help them launch the Sundance Channel? And I went, yeah, I would. And again, they wanted me to move to New York, and I said, you know what? I got a young family. Moving to New York is like impossible. So I realized I'm working in my shorts and my t-shirt, and I'm just on calls all day long. And I said, this is cool. When my kids come home, I get the chance to play catch with my younger one that wanted to, and all that kind of stuff. So I said, this is kind of cool. So I folded into my business, and that's really what I've been doing for the last 20 years. So basically taking my experiences to help assist other businesses. I still do a lot of work for the studios, less these days because the business has changed, but I realized that my niche is really in that business area. I mean, if I can do it, and pass on the things that I do and create those stories for people, then that's really what I'm interested in.
Nice. I love that. So who would you say that you serve and support? Like, who's your ideal client? Who do you absolutely love working with?
People ask me that all the time. And it's a really hard question. You think, it's like, if you're on a dating site, then you go, my ideal person is this. Okay. But it's a little different for business, especially for me. I want somebody that's committed, that has a story, that act, like I said, everybody is in business for a reason. My ideal client is somebody that's committed to what they're doing and that really wants to get out there in the marketplace and take it on. I mean, someone that's kind of hemming and hawing, they're not going to give me, they're not really doing themselves any great service. So I really want somebody that's committed. Well, again, whether they're a startup and they're going against the giants and they're going, okay, I'm ready to take you down. Because everyone was a startup. Apple was a startup, okay? When they created stuff. Sprint was a startup, started in somebody's garage. So everything today is now about that emotional connection because they've seen that people can do it. I go, somebody like Leaf Filter would be an incredible client for me. Why? Because they're creating an emotional connection. What do you mean you're still going up the ladder at 75 years old? That's dangerous, Dad, as the 40-something-year-old daughter says to him. That's an emotional connection. Okay. That's where I specialize in. So that's my ideal client. Somebody that's committed, somebody that has that story and is willing to tell it.
Nice. So give me an example of your favorite video that you made or produced.
Well, it's like asking you, who's your favorite child? Oh, unless you ask my mother, she knows it's not me. But
there's always a favorite,
But I always tell my kids to this day, they're 30 and 27. Dad, which one do you like better? And I would say, I'm not your grandmother. I love you both. So exactly the same. It's obviously we have different relationships, but come on. One of my favorite stories, really, and I say this is just because sometimes you just don't, it doesn't cut through your brain. I was approached to do Adobe was trying to recreate their model. Okay, now they didn't come to me and say, "Hey, Rich, we want you to recreate our model." Okay, that's not what happened. I went through an intermediary and they said, we want After Effects to be part of anybody who's anybody, whether they're a professional or amateur or just starting out or a student. We want After Effects to be part of everybody's vocabulary. We want them to have our software, and they can do gazillion-dollar effects if they use it. So they came to me and said, we want you to create this piece. It's going to basically, we have this Oscar winner that's available to us. His name was by the name of Rob Legato, and he had just finished working on a Martin Scorsese movie called The Aviator. And you would think that a Martin Scorsese movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, they would have gazillions of dollars for special effects. Not the case. I mean, it was a very inexpensive budget for that. And so I went out and did this story with Rob to where he talked about using Photoshop and After Effects to create these amazing effects for The Aviator and on a shoestring budget. And he said, I didn't need $1 million computer, because in those days you were thought you needed $1 million computer. And we did the before and after, which is basically what it is. They took that video, okay, and two things happened. Number one, they were changing the business model. It was no longer brick and mortar. It was, you could download the software. So, you weren't going to the store. They were changing it to a subscription base. That's number one. Number two, they were showing that you could create these effects that would no one would ever know the difference. I mean, I don't care who you were. And we showed the before and after, and we had a great spokesman, and Rob Legato has won a lot of Oscars. Martin Scorsese doesn't get much bigger than him, and showing, The Aviator, which at the time was, pretty big movie. Actually, I have a side story to that. So if and I'll get back to my point, but so if you ever watch The Aviator, you'll notice that whenever you see Howard Hughes, he's in white tennis shoes, right? So that was one of his signature things. So my dad says to me, oh, I met Howard Hughes. And I said, you did? He goes, yeah. He goes, we used to get our haircut at the same place, but the guy used to go. One day he had to come in the shop. And he goes, that's why I know that movie was good. And I go, why? He goes, because I met him and he was wearing the white tennis shoes. And I went, because nobody wore, white tennis shoes unless they're playing tennis in those days, except for Howard Hughes. So he went, you did a good story, Rich, because you showed the white tennis. I was like, really? I mean, that's how I'm judged. So anyway, So that what happened with that piece is it basically changed the software industry. And of course, I didn't know it. It wasn't until years later that someone said, you realize that you helped change the software industry usage. You created the whole new model for Adobe, basically from brick and mortar to cloud-based, which is what they are now. And I went like, I guess I did. And that, it's become one of my favorite pieces because I realized I can have a transformational effect on things. And, Schmuck Boy here didn't even know he did it. So excuse my language, but I was just trying to do a piece. And here's the great part of it, because as you know, everyone says you have to quantify what you do. I can't get anybody for Adobe. What were your numbers before? What are they now? Let's just say that I put $1 gazillion in their pocket and they're happy.
Let's just round it off to the nearest gazillion.
Yeah. It will not tell me what their business was before or after, but I can tell you it's grown exponentially. And you don't have anybody that's doing any sort of post-production work that doesn't have After Effects. It's like even Pond 5 has After Effects stuff that you get, so it's like it's become part of the vernacular, and I feel really good that we were able to change that.
That's awesome. So for a business owner, just like regular Joe, what would make a good video? Because I'm sure there are people thinking like, I'm a plumber, I own a costume shop, I own whatever. Like, how do you decide what a good video is?
Well, first of all, anything's a good video if you're telling a story. You look, everybody has some inherent charisma. I mean, look, obviously, if you get up there and you go, yeah, well, okay, it's not going to make a good video. Okay, but
well, that there have been a lot of actors that go up and go, no,
yeah, but
made millions of dollars.
That's different. But okay, but that you bring up an interesting point. Okay, so yes, if you're a plumber, okay, or you're an insurance person or whatever, what gives you your edge? You have to figure that out. Okay, what do you do differently than other people? We have great service. We, it's been in the family. I learned these things from the ground up. I started out, hustling, pipes in huge construction. I folded it into my business. There is a story there. Okay, so I mean, I do things like right now. You would think I'm working with a couple of doctors that are trying to create a new business model. Okay, now doctors are not necessarily the most exciting people. Bedside manner. These guys, I hopefully draw that charisma out of them when I'm talking to them. I'm doing a company working with a company in your neck of the woods. They're based out of Montreal. They're dealing with
Calgary's close to Montreal.
Yeah.
In some worlds. I gotta tease you, sorry.
Same country,
Same country, yeah.
To me, it's all foreigners. No, I'm kidding. No, I know Montreal's not close to you. I'm just, but us ignorant Americans, anything in Canada, where's that? Oh, it's up there somewhere. Okay, great. So aren't y'all? It's a small country, even though it's it dwarfs America, but whatever. It's a small. They're doing something in AI. These are a couple of young guys that have a passion, and their English is not necessarily 100%, but I'm still able to drag those things out of them. That's the beauty of this, because they when they saw what we did, they just went like, holy man, I mean, you're like, wow, that's us. And and there's something charming when somebody in a French accent says, this goes to the customer brain. Okay, it's like, it's not a test of someone who speaks French and then has to is like English is a second language or a third saying it. It's getting that charisma down there so people fall in love with you. Really, actually, that's what it is. You want them to fall in love with you. You want them to say, whoa. It's like with you, Michelle. I mean, your stuff is fantastic. I mean, I see your images on your website and the things that you send out. It's like, whoa, I got to talk to her. And that's not by accident. That's because you've thought of it. That's because you've nurtured it, and it's created over time. I don't think you woke up one day and said, hey, I'm going to have a picture that makes me look like this. No, you realize This is the image that you want to cultivate. And that's what I help people do. And I tell you this right now, I don't do a great job for myself. I do a better job for you.
So if somebody's kind of going like, I don't know what my story is, I do the same thing everybody else does, I just do it my way. Is that enough to drag something out of them?
Well, I mean, I think that's where I go on my journalistic, back to my journalistic days, whether I'm doing it for, when I was a newspaper writer, or whether, the TV stuff that I did for ESPN or CNBC, sometimes you have subjects that don't want to talk and you've got to kind of drag it out of them. So again, I do my best, and I know I've done my research, so I can drag it out of them. But yeah, if somebody looks at me and says, "Oh, I put my pen on the paper and I write," that's not a story. But if I say, "Well, okay, what are you writing about? What is it that got you into your field?" It's like anything else. You're a coach, and I don't mean you personally, but if you are a coach, why go to you as opposed to that person over there? There has to be some magic. There has to be some secret sauce. Otherwise, you're not in business. Well, I'm a coach. Yeah, okay, fine. Call me or don't call me. I mean, that's not a business. And that's what most people know that, but sometimes it takes the outside source to say, okay, what made you become a coach? It's because I helped so-and-so and I realized if I could do it for them, I could do it for you. What secret sauce did you bring to helping that person? Well, I did this, this, and this. There you go. Now we're on our way to a story. And that really is true. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in business, or they wouldn't stay in business. I mean, unless you're buying a franchise, a Burger King franchise, and going, "Hey, I'm open." I mean, you have to market it, and you have to talk about yourself. I mean, that's just the way it is. And if you're not a good speaker, that's okay. As long as you have a story, we have ways of telling your story without somebody that freezes up on camera.
Nice. I love that. And it reminds me of, I was doing a project with my partner's dad. He was about 80 something at the time, and it was taking forever. It was like a 4-hour project. And I just started asking him questions like, "Hey, so where'd you grow up? What'd you do? Did you have plans? Did you eat? Like, where'd you get your food from? What'd you do?" I was just, curious about everything and anything. And 4 hours later, Brad's looking at me and goes, "I've never heard my dad ever tell us those stories ever." It's like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. It's like the magic of a conversation. And I think when somebody gets together with somebody like you'll draw out the magic in them, and all of a sudden all of this mysterious stuff that you think is just normal, it's like, well, that's just what we did. It's like, it's fascinating. It's fantastic. Never heard that before.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember as a journalist, like if there was always that little key that I knew, or I tried to, like I was talking to an actor and I said, "Well, that must have been 1989. And she just like lit up and she said, you've done your research. I got the greatest interview after that ever, right? I mean, I'd heard that Kevin Costner wasn't always the greatest interview. So I had to talk to him about a project he was doing for Disney. And I said, "Mr. Costner, pleasure to meet you." I said, "I just want to tell you, we produced the piece for the 25th anniversary of Field of Dreams that played on the scoreboards across the country to promote this." And he looked at me and he said, "You did something that I didn't think was possible." And I said, "What's that?" He goes, you made me and my producer cry." He said, "After all these years, I did not think that we would cry over seeing a video about our movie." And I had him. And then I had the greatest 5 minutes that you could ask, just for that little bit of, it was humanity. Okay. And that's really what I try to do, is find that bit of humanity. And that's really, sure, these are famous people, but that doesn't matter. Everybody has that magic in them. We just don't know about it yet. And that's what we got to cut, we try to bring out.
Nice. I love that. So what are some of the stumbling blocks that somebody might be having right now and thinking, "Oh my God, Rich, I need you so badly right now"?
I think the stumbling blocks are the fact that we can't get out of our own way. I mean, listen, every day I get up and have a conversation with myself. Well, what's on tap for today? Or the night before, going, what do I have for tomorrow? And we wouldn't be human if we didn't say, you know what, I'm gonna stand to the covers a little longer today, or I really, that garage is really messy. Maybe I'll clean it and then my head will clear. Or, you know what, I think if I get to Costco early, I can beat the crowds. Okay. So we all do that kind of nonsense because we're blocked or we're afraid. And that's where somebody like me comes in. Have an introductory call. Just say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm doing. I just got kicked in the head. I thought I had this client. They picked my brain and they kicked me in the head and, kicked me to the curb, and they said, maybe they'll call me. And I tell them what somebody told me a long time ago when I was first starting out. And he said, because I said, God, Randy, I said, I get these calls. And it's like, he goes, Rich, learn this. And he goes, listen to me. And I said, what's that? He goes, you tell people at this stage of your career, you are paid for your brain. You're happy to talk to people. You're happy to meet with them and give them the benefit of your experience because you know a lot, but you have to say, look, you're a great person, but we either have to, have some sort of contract, or I'm just going to have to say good luck and, move on. And you really need to learn those things in terms of valuing your time, valuing what you do. And that's why if you're stuck, if you're not stuck, if you're going, wow, I can't grow. I'm just not growing. And I've been there. And there's certain tricks that you just have to do. And that's where talking to somebody like me, in the video creation, in the storytelling creation really helps. I get you over those blocks. It's like anybody talking to you, it's the same thing. You bring an energy through a Zoom call that's infectious. And I guarantee you bring people out of whatever's blocking them. Okay. Same thing. I try to do the same thing where only, I'm creating the video stuff and you're dealing with the areas that you excel at, which are probably many. And that's really what it is. And so if you're stuck and you're thinking and we can't get out of our own way, because let's face it, we're our worst yes people. It's like, oh, hey, you're fine. Tomorrow will be a better day. We'll get up. The dog will like me better tomorrow, and then I'll have more energy. When you go there, you never get out of it, right? It's like the next day and the next day and the next day. And then all of a sudden we're in a rut, and then all of a sudden we're seeking out a psychologist going, I don't know, I'm having a crisis here. It's like, no, we can't afford to do that in our businesses. Why? Because it's our livelihood and it's our survival. So that's really why it's important to get out of yourself.
Nice. So how do people tell these stories? Because I know in my experience, I go, oh, is this like a Facebook thing and I'm going to post it on Facebook? Is this, I'm going to put it on my website and, build it and they will come. I might have zero traffic on my website, but as soon as I put up a video, it's going to be epic. Or do you use it as a sizzle reel when you're doing talks? Like what kind of video are you recommending people put out and how do you get them to build their business quickly with them?
I look at it two ways. I mean, I look at it several ways, actually. Number one, you're 1,000% right. No, you don't build it. Speaking of Field of Dreams, you don't build it. No.
Sorry,
so
it was your reference. You brought it up.
No, it doesn't work that way. So it's a start. It's not a finish. So my philosophy is pretty simple. I try to start with a 90-second to 2-minute video about you that lives on if you have a YouTube channel, lives on your Facebook page, lives on your website. Okay. First of all, most people are not going to watch a 2-minute video unless they really like you. Okay. And whoa, I heard good things about Michelle. I'm going to check this out. Okay. Then I do a 60-second cut down, which is for Instagram, and other outlets like that, platforms like that 60 seconds, you got a shot that people are going to look at. 30-second, I do a 30-second cut down for Twitter and teaser teaser outreach. Okay. But you have to market that. Okay, whether you're using it, you can use any of them as a sizzle reel, if you're going to do platforms, but you have to do the networking part of it. That was always, the part with me is that people said, well, how are you getting the word out? I mean, I remember I met with a guy who's a pretty high-powered guy. And he said, okay, Rich, you do great work. How does anybody know about it? How do they know? So great. It's, you're a well-kept secret. What are you doing? And so it's to give you the tools to what you're doing for a social media presence, for your digital media presence. So you're posting stuff. Look, when you go on Instagram or you go on Twitter, it's about you follow, you comment, post something, post your sizzle, get people that are like-minded. Okay, so if that's 30 seconds, it's 30 seconds. If it's 60, it's 60. Push people to your sites. It gives you the tools that you don't have. Look, are you going to sit there and who do you know, whether you're talking to, someone young or someone, who's sitting there going, you know what, let me read this, 40-page brief and I'll get back to you. Those days do not happen. There's a reason that everything is in little increments. Our news is in little increments. So you got to capture them. Boom. You got to grab them by the throat, like immediately. And that's really what I'm creating. It's like the tools for you to get out there and do it. But yeah, you're 1,000% right. If you just think it's going to live there by its own and like organically take off, unless your name's Kardashian, and thank God it's not. Editorial, that was me. It does not reflect Michelle's things, but it's just not going to be discovered on its own. And I tell you something else that's funny, because you and I talked about this offline. I'm not a big Facebook person because any of us that are entrepreneurs, if we get too caught up in the social media stuff, we'll get nothing done. We can't get our work done because someone will be chiming in or whatever.
Nobody's ever wasted 2 hours on Facebook.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm trying to avoid work.
Well, I'm talking about 8. But anyway.
Oh, sorry, was that me?
but I'll tell you this. I redid my profile on Facebook just because I got more comments on that than I get, like on this, I created a video for an organization to try to get a $50 million grant so they can continue on, which I thought was okay, like, well done, Rich, you really hit it out of the box for them. I got more comments on the fact that I changed my Facebook profile than I did for the videos that I posted on trying to get
$50 million.
$50 million bucks. Yeah.
That's
so
impressive.
So every little thing that you do, it's a cumulative effect, and you can't take any of it for granted, especially in today's world. And you got to network. You got to get out there and do it. That's how you and I met. I mean, thank you for that beautiful introduction. That's how we met. I mean, I remember the notes that said, okay, I got to contact her, just by the little elevator speech that you gave. And I wrote it down. And then sure enough, you reached out to me and there was like a mutual admiration society. But that's where it starts. If I hadn't been out there on that call, if you hadn't been on the Zoom, we would have never known each other. We would have still been well-kept secrets in our lives, and that would have been the end of that. So it's all cumulative, and it's all about being in business. So especially as an entrepreneur, you don't have the luxury of going into your office and meeting with 10, 20, 30, 40 people and sitting around a meeting. Those days are done. And also they're done anyway, because who's going into an office? Nobody, fewer and fewer people are going in. You can see what's going on. Therefore, we have to generate everything from here. It's all from here now. It's self-generated. And so for better, for worse, let's go. Let's get the energy and let's do it.
I love it. So how quickly, if somebody does this right, could they scale their business?
I think it could be, in terms of, I can create something within 30 days, 30 to 45 days, or less, depending upon just, what the schedule allows and what exactly I'm doing. I think you feel it immediately. Okay. It's like you're in a car and you're at 0 because you're at the light and you go, so you're obviously moving. Okay. It's the same thing here. A lot of us feel like we're running in place. We're not getting anywhere. Okay. So all of a sudden you do this, you work with somebody like me, And all of a sudden now you have these tools that you didn't know that existed. And you're saying, okay, oh, wait a minute, that's one story. I got this other one over here. Oh, wait a minute, I got this other one. Hey, let's update it. Let's do this. Hey, I have 12 clients that love me. Okay, let's put out let's get the testimonials. Let's put it together in a nice package. All those things start working. All of a sudden, you get a referral, okay, or you're reaching out to somebody. All of a sudden, you have new tools to give them. Then let's set up a call. No, how about checking me out? How about looking at this? How about falling in love with me first, and then let's set up a call.
Well, no, you got to check me out first. That's gonna
Well,
be my
I
new
don't know.
line. Sorry, no, I'm not
I don't
doing
know.
coffee. You got to check
In
me
my
out
experience,
first.
it's always the opposite. Fall in love with me, and then like peel back the layers and go, oh God, he's a complicated guy. So but I prefer the other way, where you fall in love with me first and then do it. But no, I think the impact is almost immediate, and even if it doesn't translate to like 12 new clients in the first day and a half, what it does is it opens up your brain, and that's really what we're trying to do, is open up our brains so we don't, we can see the forest, for the trees. And that's really what it is, because who are we having the conversations with? I talk to my dog. He's great. He calms me, but he doesn't really give me any business tips. But that's where we are. That's where we are today. And that's why it's important also for your circle. Make certain you're bouncing. And I didn't really understand this, because I remember people said, Rich, you have to mine, M-I-N-E, your resources, meaning your first contacts. You need to mine them. And I thought, dude, I mine these people every day. If they had work, they'd give it to me. And then my brain finally clicked on it and was like, no, you moron. It's not about them having work for you, or, it's about bouncing the ideas and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? Anybody that might be interested. So you're opening their brains to you as well. And that's really what business is about today. It's you can be great at what you do, but if you're not telling your story, then you're running in place.
Absolutely. And I think it's telling a more powerful story, because I don't know if it's just as a Canadian or people in general just do it. They just downplay their story. It's like, oh no, it was nothing. And this old thing, no. And you can't do that when you're marketing. You have to be able to tell a powerful story that's about them. Like,
right.
They want to buy into you. It's not about, hey, I'm all this in a bag of shit. It's what can they get out of, who do they become by being able to interact with you?
Right.
And then it becomes a totally different scenario, and people get to grow. You
are so right. It's like I liken it to this, and I'm guilty of this too, or I have been. I've retrained myself. Probably the greatest hitter in the history of baseball was a guy by the name of Ted Williams. Okay. And my dad used to tell me, oh, they did this shift on Ted Williams and he was too proud. He wouldn't hit it to the other side. Of course, now all they do is shift for every hitter. It doesn't matter whether you're hitting 145, they're shifting. But Ted Williams would get up there, because I've read his books and read books about him. And he'd say, I'm Ted effing Williams. You can't get me out. I'm Ted effing Williams. You can't get me out. That was, he was the greatest hitter. And he was the last man to hit 400. Okay. Last person to hit 400 in the big leagues. Okay. Why? Because he knew when he stepped up to the plate that you were not getting him out. And if you did, it was going to be a miracle. It's the same thing in business. Okay. You're Michelle. There is nobody better than you at what you do. You need to exude that kind of confidence, not arrogance, confidence, because I don't think anybody really, I've been on Zoom meetings with, arrogant people, like one guy in particular who will go unnamed. Oh, hi, I'm in my vacation house. I do have a 45,000 square foot house there, but I'm in my vacation house at the beach and I charge X number. If you want to talk to me for an hour, it costs you, $50,000. I'm going like, okay, click. I don't care how successful you are. Really? I don't care about your possessions. That's arrogance. And that turns me off. But if you're confident, and if you sit there and go, I'm good at what I do, and this is what I bring, and I can help you, then I believe that you're onto something. Then you're really onto something. And people sometimes mistake confidence for arrogance. But going back to me, enough about me. Let's talk about me. Going back to me is, I don't always like to talk shop. I don't. I mean, and people go, no, I like your stories. I like when you tell me, when you were at a library opening and Charlton Heston was there, and he came up to you and went, what can I help you with, Mr. Heston? Oh, can I get a glass of wine? I looked at my watch and it was like 10:30 in the morning, and yeah, sure, and I'm running around trying to find a glass of wine so you could get through the morning. So they love stories like that. It's like, or another actor who remained nameless. We were doing a satellite press tour and it was like 7:00 and he goes, Rich, I'm in trouble. And I go, what does that mean? And he goes, you got to help me. He goes, could you go in the mini bar and get me some vodka? I go, it's 6:45 in the morning. He goes, it's okay. It'll just calm me. And, people love hearing those stories. And I realized I got to get out of myself. As long as, I'm not bragging, because I don't always like to talk shop, but they're just fun little interludes, or the time, I helped launch the Sundance channel. So what's become Sundance TV. So when I met Robert Redford for the first time, I said, Mr. Redford, it's a pleasure to meet you. I said, I went to Van Nuys High. I know you did. I'd always hoped we'd work together. So he went around the office going, hey, did you guys meet Richie? And I went to high school together. I kid you not, that I must have had 20 people come in and say, oh, you went to school with Bob? And I went like, yeah, about 30 years apart, but yeah, we were classmates. I mean, come on.
Everybody.
But those are priceless stories. And the stupid thing that I did is that I kept thinking, oh, I'm going to remember every one of these stories. I should have written them down. I mean, great character actor that I worked with, a man by the name of Charles Durning, passed away. He worked with everybody. He told me the greatest stories. And I said, oh, I'm never going to forget these. Of course I've forgotten them. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't walk in with a tape recorder, into his trailer. But write the stories down. People love them. We all want to be human beings. It's like the women who said that they start their watch business because they realized there were no fashion watches. And they went and they did some drawings on napkins at their kitchen table and it became their business. Now they're huge. That's a story. Okay. That's what people really, that they glom onto that because it's a personal story. All right. And they're even selling windows that way. My husband and I started this because windows were too expensive when we were building our house. And now we're, take that Anderson renewal because, we can do it better and we have a better product. That's a story. And it's all about from here. And you're in business because of this as well as this. Get this out there. Get this out there. You're not on a dating site. You're on a business site. It's a whole different thing.
It's time to grow your business, people.
Yeah.
Cool. So I know that listeners are going to want more from you. So how did they start their journey with you?
They can do it in one of several ways. I mean, you can reach out to me at Rich Born, RICHBORN at westworld.com, which is also a great story. I'll tell you a little story about that. I'm hip today. Because I have a Westworld account. Very few people in the world have Westworld accounts because of the TV show, right? And you don't have it, right? And they think, oh, you work for that show? No. What I am is a guy who, when AOL was dominating emails and dominating the internet world, my friend said, Rich, don't be an idiot. Don't go with AOL. Go with this little company in the Valley called Westworld, and you'll get service and it's cheaper and whatever. So for the last 20 years, I've had a Westworld account. So I am hip, and everyone says, "Oh, you with the show?" Yeah, I'm with the show. Yeah, okay, there you go. So it's richborn at westworld.com is a great way to reach me. I just keep telling him because he wants to retire. The guy who owns it. I said, he goes, you got to sell me that. I've had it it's the only email anybody knows. Me, even though I have the other ones. And he's going, you got 250,000. I go, no. Not
an email address.
Yeah, right. So he goes, well, then we're gonna have to talk. So I said, okay. So, but that's a great way. You can go to my site, bornsteinmedia.com, BORNSTEIN media, MEDIA.com. There's a contact information there. Or you can text me anytime, 818-606-2383. 818-606-2383. I mean, we all live on our phones, and but me, because I'm not really dexterous typing with my thumbs, I got it set up on my computer. So now I can text from the computer. I'm much more comfortable doing that than I am typing with my thumbs. I never, it's like, I see like my kids or, other people, they're going crazy on the phone. And I'm going like, I keep having to start over. So I'm so glad that I'm a total Mac house now. So I can actually use the keyboard because I'm used to it. I mean, while everyone in college was writing their papers, longhand, I mean, I was working on the newspaper, and we learned how to use, create on the computer. I had my typewriter. I still have my Underwood typewriter that I also wrote some stuff. So I'm much more capable typing, like this than I am typing with my thumbs. But those are the best ways. Or just go outside and scream and say, Rich, where are you? And hopefully I'll hear you.
And if you're driving right now, do not write this down. Just go to awarenessstrategies.com/blog, and we will have all of Rich's information there. You can either scan through Rich or Bornstein or videos or all sorts of stuff. Whatever we've been talking about, we'll have those in the notes for you. Right. Awesome. So I have to ask you this. At what point in life did you know that you were a special kind of crazy enough to become an entrepreneur?
Well, like I said, it happened by accident. So, I was, I don't want to get into the gory details, but
we do.
I was.
We want you to.
Okay. I was going through a divorce, and and I, like I said, I was looking for that magic call. I was going to get my next job, and it just, all the things aligned. It was like people said, Rich, do you want to do this? Yeah. Oh, hey, do you want to go to Ireland and do this for it? Yeah. Do you want to you want to do this? Yeah. You want to release this? Yeah. Okay. Do you want to tell the story? So I was probably in my late 30s, when it all kind of hit. And again, I was offered gigs. I mean, I was offered gigs, important gigs, but I realized, like I said, I'm playing catch with my kid. My kids were living with me half the time or more. So my big fear was going through a divorce, that I wasn't going to be able to be there for my kids if I was working all the time. I didn't have that nuclear family anymore. So I was really concerned that I was just going to be one of those exhausted fathers, getting up, calling London, doing whatever, going in the office, getting home at 7 or 8, having the housekeeper, doing stuff. And I decided I didn't really want to do that. At coaching Little League, playing catch with the kids, being able to take my kids to wherever they needed to be, being there for everything that they were part of was important to me, and that I can make a living at it. And so that's really, it's just a lot of factors went in, and it was great. It was, I have no regrets about that. Do I have regrets about turning down, big jobs, say at Sony? Yeah, probably, because I'd probably, would have made more money during the time. But the reality of it is no. I mean, I feel like the kids grew up better, and I grew up better by being there for them, and my life was better, and it was great. So there's never a right time to do it. The wrong time to do it is when you hear, this is just my opinion, this is not Michelle sponsored. I think these people, these self-help people, are so off most of the time. Oh, you got to take control of your life. Yes, you do have to take control of your life, but let's face it, they all tell the same story. I was living out of my car, doing this, and the light bulb went off. No, taking control of your life to me means, okay, you're writing it down, and you're typing it down, and you have a plan, and you're saying, this is what I want to do. And you get your vision board and you put it up there. This is who I am. At one point in my life, I wanted to be a producer. And I was having lunch with a guy. I just helped him get 6 Emmy Awards. And I said, Peter, I'm frustrated. My boss hired his girlfriend for my job, even though he's married. And now I got to find, other work. And I'm really, it really put me in an ugly place, because I was, some man that used to come into my office and preach to me about, you're living with that woman, you really need to marry her, you're taking advantage of her. I go, what? This is consensual. What are you talking about? And then he ended up hiring me. Anyway, I was upset. And he says, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd like to do what you do. I want to be a producer. I'm good at it. He goes, you really want to be a producer? And I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, okay, but you have to follow the steps. And I said, okay, give me the steps and I'll do it. And he took a spoon and he went, you are a producer. And
You've now been knighted.
and I said, now what do I do? He goes, be a producer. Okay. Obviously, I did not become a show producer. I became a producer of what I've become. But it's that kind of self-power that you need to instill in yourself, and then you are on your way. Have a plan, write it down. And here's something else, and this is where people like you come in. You need the outside source. Okay, so I'm a strategist and a creator. I offer a thing. Pick the right person to help you get over those hurdles, to get out of yourself. And that is really, really crucial. Not just someone you're looking up on the internet, someone that you get to know, that you love, that you realize that they are going to be the most important person in your business life. Okay, that's crucial too. And that's why I think you're successful. That's why I think, that I can do good things for people, is because I believe in them. If someone decides to work with me, I believe in them. And otherwise I'm not going to do it. Now they could disappoint me. I mean, I had somebody that just, even though she disappointed me. Why? Because she thought she knew more than she did, and she didn't really live up to the terms of our, agreement. But those are exceptions to the rule. Most people, if they're committed, they know I'm committed. They know that, we're in it for the long haul. It's a mutual admiration society.
Awesome. So I just want to thank you, Rich, for your time today. It has been awesome and epic, as always. I value and appreciate your time. So before I let you go, though, just any last words for our peeps? That's been awesome. Those are your last words. So just want to give you one more opportunity.
No, listen, I love it. And if you're at that stage where you want to take it to the next level, or you're getting started, whether you're a startup or whatever, let's just set up an informational call. Maybe I can help. Maybe I can't. We can determine that. And it's just, my goal is, if I can make you successful, that will make me feel good, obviously make you feel good. And, we're in this together. We're fighting the conglomerates together. Although if you're a conglomerate, you can hire me as well. But we really are in this together. And I think if the pandemic taught us anything, it means we need to survive, and we need to do it on our own terms, because we never know when the rug's going to be pulled out from under us. I mean, your life was changed, my life was affected. I mean, I was on the way I had 7 projects disappear like overnight, never came back. I mean, literally. And when they closed it down in March, I was done. Oh yeah, we're going to come back. No, they never came back. So that's really what it is. We're in this together. Let's work together. And, there's resources out there. There's Michelle, there's me, and gazillions of other people, but pick the right people. That's really what it is.
Awesome. Go book your appointment with Rich. It'll be awesome. You will love it. Trust me. I did. It was great. Awesome. Thank you so much again. This is Michelle Nedlock. Thank you for being here with us today. If you know anyone who would make a great guest for the show, or if you have a question or topic that you'd like me to discuss, reach out to me at michelle@awarenessstrategies.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to our show. I am all about being a resource center for entrepreneurs to give them the information and the support they need to make it in business. As such, I have Taking Your Business Digital Q&A every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Mountain. To register for that, go to awarenessstrategies.com/digital. That's DIGITAL. I look forward to meeting you and actually finding out how you are. So see you on the flip side.